Joining me here now to talk about all things Eastern baseball is the head coach of the number 16th ranked team in America, the head coach of the Eastern Warriors, Brian Hamm. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. First, Tyler, congratulations on your new gig. That's really exciting. We're excited for you, even though, as I've told you many times, we're going to miss you. But you and I are going to catch up sometime this summer at a Pirates game.
That sounds good, Coach. I can't wait until we get to do that, and I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you. So talking about, got a busy week for you this week. You're entering the tournament as the number one seed down at the Eastern Baseball Stadium, hosting a pot of games, pot of teams. So when we talked back before the season began, the conversation was focused around the fact that it had been 676 days since you played down at the Eastern Baseball Stadium last. So what has stood out to you about your team's performance from that first game to now today?
Yeah, I remember that conversation, and it feels like a long time ago. And as I look back over a year plus now of going through COVID, one of the things that stands out is how long we've been together as a team. And as we got into the fall and beginning of the spring, we were talking about how we were figuring out our approach and our identity. Now that we've gone through a full season, we look back, we realize that had been in the making ever since last March when we had it going on. We were 5-1. COVID hit, everything stopped, and at that point, we made the determination to stay together as a team. And we've talked a number of times about the Zoom meetings we did in the spring and what we did in the fall, and our guys playing through the summer into the fall, and then our approach in the winter leading into the season. And now we look back at all of that and can see how we built our team identity, we built our team culture, which is one of a very resilient team. This team has seen so many different game situations that they've really succeeded in finding ways to have a positive outcome. If you remember, our home opener, that game that we were talking about, we walked off on a home run, right? So we start to look back at all the different experiences and realize that by our team having a really solid approach and then sticking to that approach, buying into that approach, combined with having a great group of guys who love the game, love each other, and now have been together for over a year working toward what we've now accomplished, at least in the regular season. That's built the resiliency, that's built the toughness. And that's built, if you see and watch us play, you see a team that just loves to compete with each other, loves the game, and thrives on those environments, being out on the field together. So we're a fun team to watch, and we've built that as an identity for ourselves, and it's worked so far.
So that team culture you mentioned, Coach, has led to that 29-4 record on the year, and 5 of the 10 best hitters in the Little East Conference are part of your squad. So can you talk about that side of the game for your team this season, the impact that's had?
Well, we talk about approach a lot as a team, and that started really, as a matter of fact, we had Devin Valinsky came down to watch one of our practices the other day. He's at UConn now, and he was telling the coach and the guys how proud he was of what we've accomplished. And I said, Devin, that had a lot to do with your group and essentially what was my first season and our true last season. And we've only been really a season and 3 quarters with Woj and myself and our coaching staff and team together. And that buy-in has started, I should say, with my first season. Harry Roberson came with me from Amherst. He's the all-time hits leader at Amherst, and then was helping Steve Cervisi as our hitting coaches in that first and second years. And that helped us establish an approach from an offensive perspective that now that we have buy-in and we've practiced it now, our hitters are benefiting from. That approach allows us to be very versatile. It allows us to hit situationally, move runners if we need to, and at the same time, hit for power and drive in runs. And so it makes our lineup very dangerous 1 through 9. But then we've got guys coming off the bench who swing in pitch hit opportunities, or maybe they have an opportunity in the DH role. that wears down opposing pitchers. And ultimately, that's what makes us successful offensively, is that we're a very difficult lineup for a pitcher to face 1 through 9, and then a second and third time through the order. And then relief pitchers come in and we're relentless on them. And so, that approach is finally now something that we're seeing the benefits from, that we've worked really hard in the past year and a half to get guys to buy into. And now that they've bought into it, to execute. And so, it's no surprise that, we have guys who've had a lot of success and ultimately, at the top of the league in terms of their performance. And we're really fortunate to have the hitting coaches, both with Coach Cervisi and Coach Reed. Coach Reed joined us last year, and all the success that he had, not only as a player here, but coaching within the program for as long as he did in the national championships that he's been a part of has really given rise to our hitters believing in themselves and understanding what it takes to be successful. And he and Coach Cervisi have done such a great job, changing the mentality of our hitters to attack and to be consistent and to be disciplined. And so I'm really fortunate that with those two working with our hitters, both at practice, but also Coach Cervisi being in the dugout during the game when we're on offense, talking to our hitters. And one of the cool things about our hitting culture is that our guys are always talking about hitting, whether it's during batting practice or in the dugout during games, trying to help each other out in terms of making adjustments, but then also thinking about the approach that the opposing pitcher's taking with us and how we can adjust our offense throughout the course of the game. And then with Coach Reed at first base and getting our guys going, you constantly hear him. If you're at our games this week, you'll hear him both in the dugout and over at first base. And he's so positive and he's so present in terms of the energy that he brings, that our guys are at first base, and that really plays to the way that we attack on the base paths too. And so our hitting then leads to how we approach our base running and the way that we put the ball in play hard. And then sometimes with 2 strikes we're so difficult to get out because we put the ball in play to make things happen. That we're such a versatile and dangerous lineup that it's fun to watch. And a lot of that comes from what Coach Cervisi and Coach Reed bring, but also in terms of the mentality and the talent that our hitters have to offer.
I want to ask you about Josh Vincent. 0.82 ERA on the year, 6-1 record to go along with that. Can you talk about the performance of your ace to this point in the season?
Certainly. I mean, that performance has been straight up dominant. And speaks to what we're looking for from our entire pitching staff, and especially our starters, in that he attacks the zone, has an outstanding command, leads with fastball command, and then is able to pitch off of that with his secondary pitches. And as a result, is successful across the board in terms of not only batting average against, but 59 strikeout to 17 walk ratio, which is outstanding. You said the 0.82 ERA, 152 batting average against. I mean, that's dominant across the board. That success has been developed over time that Josh has been with Coach Wojcik and within, again, the system that we've established for our pitching staff that, ultimately Woj has put together for us. And again, we've now had essentially 2 years for our pitchers to work within. That success from Josh and his approach, which is so consistent day in, day out, from the weight room to how he practices to how he prepares in games, has served as a really good model for many of our other pitchers. And so off of his success, you see what Aiden Dunn has been able to accomplish. 0.51 ERA, 143 batting average against. He's 5-0, right? You look at Farino, 34 strikeouts to 5 walks, 1.73 ERA. And then we can look at Brian Albee and player and the success that John Parker has had. And then, Fed's had 2 really good outings. And then the guys who I haven't mentioned, who've kind of give us the core to our pitching staff, all those guys in some ways have learned from Josh in terms of how he set the standard for that mentality of our pitching staff, which is to attack opponents' hitters and put them on the defensive. And so, as I mentioned, with our hitters wearing down opposing pitching staffs because of how strong we are and capable we are 1 through 9, our pitching staff has done that as well, starting with our starting pitchers in Vincent and Dunn and Oldham, and then guys like Fath and others who have started midweek games as well. And then we're able to bring in our relief so that way hitters don't ever get into a rhythm against us. And so Josh has done a phenomenal job. He should be pitcher of the year this year when our all-conference voting comes out. And we're really fortunate to have had him this year. And I'm really proud of him for how he's also developed as a pitcher in the past year.
That depth allows you to shake things up for opposing teams. Like you said, nobody ever getting settled into anything. So you mentioned approach. I want to ask you about your approach to this tournament, the possibility of this tournament making you guys have to play 3 games in 4 days. So can you talk about the planning process, your approach, preparing the team for the possibility of playing those 3 games in such a short amount of time?
Certainly. Well, interestingly, this year has just been a gauntlet for teams in the LEC. I mean, not only are we the strongest conference in Division III, but the way that we structured the regular season with back-to-back 9-inning doubleheaders home and home. So, we had 2 home games in Southern Maine on Friday, turn around after, a late night finish and get up at, where buses leaving at 6:30 to go up to Southern Maine to play 2 9-inning games up there. And then, to do that with Castleton and to do that with the other, to do that where played Keene State, turn around and play up at UMass Boston the following day, made it really challenging, not only on our pitching staff, but also in terms of making sure that we had our legs under us and we're balancing the academic component as the end of the year finishes up and trying to maintain our team 3.2 GPA. So all of those different things have prepared us for the way that the LEC tournament is. And we're fortunate in that we won the 1 seed with a 15-1 record. And we did that, we clinched that last week. So it allowed for us to start preparing mentally to be the host, and then to not have to travel is a huge advantage, especially as we're in finals this week.
So both the baseball and softball programs have a history of success. And as we saw the other day, softball is hosting as the 2-seed a pot of games for their tournament. They're going to be in action again the same time that you guys take the field. So can you talk about the atmosphere, having both teams be successful this season, kind of the excitement around both programs heading in to the time of the year where everybody wants to be playing?
Certainly. And both baseball and softball having success is something that historically has been rooted in what Eastern baseball and softball is about. And we're always chasing softball, and that they have one more national championship than that we do. And I tell Coach Pep and their staff and their women, they're the ones who are always one step ahead of us. They were undefeated for so long throughout the season, and we said that we were just trying to play catch up and hold our own end of the bargain. I mean, that program has had so much success, not only historically, but recently. And as I came into Eastern, to have someone like Coach Pepin and their team reach out and say, hey, listen, we want to have you be part of our success and something special. And for us to then be able to have both teams come together in many different ways. Our stadiums are next door to each other. We often practice at the same time. And so Coach Pepin and myself and our staff are always trying to find ways to integrate both teams. It's been a little bit more difficult during COVID with all of the social distancing guidelines, but we've made it work. Yesterday, they had a big win in their first game in the LEC tournament, which they're also hosting. And after practice, our guys made sure to go over there to support the team. Those little things, Coach Pep, myself, Mark, Joe, all of our staff's always constantly texting each other, picking each other's brains. Our offices are next to each other. And so I've been really fortunate to not only have Coach Pepin and the softball team kind of look out for our team, but also to come to a place that has such good school spirit. And then under Lori Runksmeyer's leadership, a department of coaches that support each other and look out for each other, for me to learn the ropes here and to feel really well supported. And that makes life a lot easier, especially if you're trying to focus in on making sure your team's prepared, that you don't have to worry about all the little things that the coaching staffs help you with off the field.
That added level of excitement with fans now being allowed in the stands for both baseball and softball games. So with that level of excitement, and now we're down to those winner go home games for teams, what's been your message to your team getting them prepared for this tournament?
It's been the same that we've had all year. And that's our goal for our team, which is to not change our approach, whether it's the first game of the season, and again, our back's against the wall and we went in on a walk-off, or it's we're playing the fourth game of a 4-game series and we're up at Southern Maine, and we had the situation where we were behind 3-1, and in the 8th, Dean Slavin comes up and it hits an opposite field home run. All of those and everything in between has always been about trusting in our approach and sticking with it, competing, supporting each other, and then ultimately having fun. And if we can do that, whether it's, again, a regular season game or going into the LEC tournament, we're going to be successful, because that's what's allowed for us to be successful throughout the entire year. And at the end of the day, the reason why we play this game is to have fun and to support and care for each other. And we've done a really good job of that as a team. So we're a really cohesive group, and hopefully that's going to be kind of the wind behind our sails as we go into the tournament.
Coach, it's always great talking with you. I really appreciate you taking time. Good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate it, Tyler. It's been really special. Hopefully we get to do a couple of these as the season continues, and that we're able to have more weeks added on after this week. But we're really proud of our team and of the softball team's success, and hopefully we continue to see success into the tournament. So thanks again for all your support and for doing our games. You kept our fans in the loop and having the opportunity to see us play while they couldn't be in the stadium. And now that we're in the stadium, now we've got more and more people watching and following us on the webcast and live, and that's really exciting. So thanks to the ETV group for everything that you've done for us this year.
Absolutely. And as Coach Hamm mentioned, you can see all the games of the Little East Conference Championship Tournament streaming live on littleeast.tv.